Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Later in the program, we're going to be looking at state pensions and why they're upside down. But first, before everybody yells at him, let's be the first to yell at him. Kevin Grantham, state senator and now the incoming president of the Colorado State Senate.
Thank you,
and I
John.
want to say congratulations, but I just can't say congratulations. Why in the world would you want to take the job of Senate President?
I have been asked that countless numbers of times in the last month. I want it because I think I can actually do some good leading this caucus and leading the Senate and maybe get some things done the next couple of years.
For those who don't follow this is why this is a pain in the neck job, all right? So Republican State Senate is a Republican State Senate by one tiny little vote. 35 senators, Republicans have a one-vote advantage.
I prefer to say one massive vote.
All right. So that one big vote, which means anytime a Republican senator is out of kilter, had something for breakfast that's giving him indigestion, then all of a sudden you have no Republican majority and things can become very bad very quickly.
In theory, that's exactly what
Not that that's ever happened. Not that that's ever happened before and you haven't seen it.
Right.
So in your position, not only do you have a very liberal governor who wants to do things, you now have an even more liberal state house. Democrats gained what? How many seats in the last?
They picked up 3 seats. They turned over three more seats,
which gives them an advantage of, is it 8 seats?
37 to 28, so it's a 9-vote.
9-vote advantage. Right. So you know what's coming at you.
Right.
So coming this way, you're going to be getting all the crazy bills that come out of the House. Right. Above you, you're going to have a governor who's going to be pushing you to get them through. And then you've got one little vote, which means you're one temper tantrum away from bad things happening. And you wanted this job because?
Well, because, John, I'm trying not to give you the political speech answer, right?
Because we can make our country great again.
We can make our country great again.
It is, in all honesty, this is not an easy job because as you do it, everybody's going to be angry at you for something.
Well, I grew up, knowing that just straight talk, telling people what they want to hear doesn't get you anywhere down the road. And so folks appreciate that I can at least tell them where they're at. And if I don't like their bill, they're going to know it. And the reality is a lot of the power doesn't rest in necessarily the one single vote, that one vote majority. It rests in the ability to have that one seat majority in each and every committee. And so being able to put bills where they belong and take care of bills that we don't like and dispatch them accordingly after a fair hearing.
After the gavel hearing, yes.
After the gavel hearing, then that is the real power of the majority, not just having that one simple vote on the floor. It's those bills not ever being on the floor.
Let's be honest, though. The amount of egos in that building is pretty high. I mean, some people compare it Some people compare it to high school politics. It's more like junior high politics. All right, people get offended for all sorts of reasons, and I've got a few political theories. One of them is that the closer our two people are, or two organizations are on the political spectrum, the more friction there is between them. That, I can sit down here and have a beer with Hickenlooper. We get along really well, and he's a great guy. Because we're not going to agree on that. We don't have to work together on these things. But when you're on the same side of the aisle, you have to strategize. You have to work together. And so different people want different credit. People want different strategies. People want different tactics. It gets ugly. Not that you've ever seen that.
No, of course not. Of course not. No, that's you hit it right on the head with that. Why we have so much friction sometimes within our own caucuses. We know that we already agree on that 95%. So the only thing we have that makes life interesting is arguing about the other 5%.
Right.
And vice versa with the other caucuses. We already know we disagree on 95%. So
there's a lot of strategy. Which bill? This one's not pure enough, or it's too. It's too political. Let's get into some of the issues.
Sure.
Right out of the gate, You know it's coming. It's the one that nobody understands, but it's probably the most important, which is the hospital provider fee. And this is to take this massive amount of Medicaid money from a fee increase that doesn't even appear on people's bills. I find that so very wrong. Hospital bills. And this comes out to about $800 million a year, and they want to take it offline so that we don't hit our Tabor spending caps. You know, it's a nice way of increasing government without asking the people first. Your predecessor, I think, was offered all sorts of goodies to break on this one, and I want to know where you are on this.
Well, I've already made it pretty clear that the hospital provider fee, as we saw it last year and as we anticipate seeing it this year, doesn't have any legs, and will be dispatched with rather quickly instead of drawn out over the course of the session.
You're gonna be the bad guy on this, but then again, you got that evil Spock beard, so you're used to that. And they're going to say, what? Look at all these things we can't do because of this. And you know, they're going to come out of the woodwork, and the pressure is going to be huge. And then there are going to be the, hey, if you do it, we will be able to, we'll give you what you want, and there's going to be all sorts of transportation projects offered and all the rest. How do you explain why it's important that you say no to this?
I say no to this mostly because of what you've already explained with our taxpayers and taking $800 million more without their approval. This is our Constitution, right? We need to ask them for their approval. If they want to give us that much more money, then let's ask them for it. But doing it the way that they wanted to do it is simply not acceptable. The fact of the matter is, they're still parading this around as a fee. It is a tax. It's the hospital bed tax, and we need to treat it like such. But to frame it in such a way, and you're right, they'll come after us. They'll come after me.
Well, they're coming after you. They're not coming after me. They're coming after you.
They're gonna nail me to the wall, saying that we're not going to be able to fund all this stuff because of. And our answer to that is simply, then we haven't really sat down and looked at the other options. If your only option is to steal more money from the Colorado taxpayers, then we haven't looked at all the options. We have to look at real Medicaid reform. We have to look at actually freeing up general fund dollars and actually committing those dollars to transportation like we should be doing in the first place. If we're not even willing to talk about the options that don't include stealing more money from the pockets of Colorado taxpayers, then we haven't even started talking yet. And believe it or not, John, they actually are talking at this point, because they do want to get something done on these issues, and they know that this is a non-starter.
So you think that this will be brought up and killed pretty quickly?
I think
not drug out?
It's not going to be drug out.
All right. Talk to me a little bit about what you think is going to be different this year, given the changes in Washington. You know, we've had a printing press under Obama that has gone into debt, made dollars out of paper, and given it to the states, which make things like the healthcare exchanges work. Here's a lot more money for Medicaid. So it all looks good, as long as the printing press for those dollars keep coming from the feds. You know, what's going to be different, do you think?
Well, even apart from the fact of whether or not the ACA is repealed or not, that may not happen quick enough for that to matter to us in the next 120 days, starting January 11th. But there are some things in those 120 days that we're in session that the federal government can make some decisions on that would actually really benefit us. Maybe some Medicaid block grant funding instead of all the strings attached coming from DC. Maybe if they actually let us make some of those decisions, we could actually do more and spend less, and thereby going back to the transportation discussion, freeing up some of that general fund dollar here in the state to actually go towards transportation.
This idea is not, by the way, an R versus D issue. No. It was under Clinton where we block granted welfare to the states with remarkable successes.
Right, exactly right. That's just one example with healthcare. We look also at the Interior Department, we look at the EPA, we look at energy, the many things that can be done on that front to help our coal industry here in Colorado, to help all of our energy sectors here in Colorado, just getting the EPA offer back. that's one of the major differences that can start happening on January 20th.
Talk to me a little bit about transportation, because this always comes up. And one of my biggest frustrations is that we keep siphoning money that should go to alleviate auto congestion, and we put it to transit, or we put it to bike lanes, and we put it to things that are very nice, feel very good, but do nothing to alleviate the serious and growing problems we have with our roads. I grew up here.
Right.
You know, bitching about the roads is that and the Denver Broncos, two favorite things in Colorado. What's likely to happen? I mean, there's a lot of talk about a gas tax increase, and you know, I worry that it's just going to siphon more money off for transit.
It's one of our ever-growing frustrations when we start talking about transit dollars, and it's wedging itself into our system as far as transportation dollars being siphoned away for these bike lanes and bike paths and whatever in our transportation system, be it Mustang or some other
methods. Just make sure people are up to speed here. CDOT, which is the Department of Transportation, takes care of all the state roads from border to border. They get about, what, $1.5 billion a year. That's not a lot of money for a whole lot of roads. RTD this year got $2.5 billion for its tiny, for the Denver metro area. And we wonder why we're sitting in traffic. Now, CDOT has decided to go into the bus game. Instead of fixing our roads, they now have buses going between cities, and they call it Mustang, which is very adorable. And the governor has decided we want to spend $100 million to build bike lanes. Now, bike lanes are wonderful. They're terrific. Take them out of parks and rec. Do whatever you need. But that's not solving our traffic congestion problems.
Correct. All you have to do is drive up Broadway and see a great example of that.
Where they've actually taken away a lane of traffic.
They actually took out the southbound east lane on Broadway, I think down there south of Alameda somewhere. Yeah, great example of that.
Let's just think about this. One of the most important arterials going in and out of Denver, and they restricted it by 25% to make a lane into a bike lane, while we're trying to get in and out of the city.
Yeah, and to see the traffic within that bike lane, just the packed and stacked traffic of bikes every day, it's tragic that we don't have more bike lanes going down Broadway. No, it's frustrating on our part to see that kind of money being wedged out of our real needs in order to improve our infrastructure here in Colorado. So that's one of the things we'll be working on, John. It's when we start talking about how much money is it going to take to widen I-25, how much is it going to take to take care of I-70, I-25 North, the viaduct, all these major projects. Bike lanes are not going to fix those things, and we are working with the other side right now to try to figure out some solutions revenue-wise and formula-wise, because the formula is on what goes to transit and what goes to local communities for their local streets and roads and bridges, etc. All of that is part of that formula currently with the HUTF money and gas tax.
Now, you're in that situation where you're going to get blamed for making sure things don't get done. People really ought to know there's one person in this state who is more grateful than anyone that you're sitting there, and that's the governor. Because if a Republican wasn't sitting there, there'd be Democrats in both houses, and last time that happened, he refused to veto a single bill. And we had ridiculous gun laws, ridiculous energy laws, voting laws that made us the most insecure in the country, and he couldn't say no. He's grateful. You plan on getting a thank you note? How does that work?
Well, I'm still waiting on that thank you note, and I won't hold my breath until I get it. But he did advocate for a lot of his party's nominees or his party's candidates within our Senate races, because he wanted to get the hospital provider fee passed, and now that's not going to happen. So I'm not sure how thankful he is. Maybe he is thankful. I'm not sure. I'll wait for that.
Do you see any big bills passing in the next session or two? I mean, I have a hard time seeing something big like we, with such a split?
I think the one major piece of legislation that I know all 4 caucuses are on board on, we're finding the nuances to be difficult, as you might expect, but the construction defects reform. If you're familiar with that, then maybe I don't need to explain it, but it's...
The reason why people can't get into houses or even condominiums here, and why our house pricing, and there are no
Sure.
condominiums to buy,
Yeah.
because no builder wants to take the liability
Right.
because of how poorly the laws are written here.
Right, and done intentionally in the last few years, and now we're trying to roll that back. The cities have already taken the lead on it. Lakewood, Denver, some others have already taken the lead on this, and so until we fix it in statute, it's not truly going to be fixed. And so we're going to work on that, and I think we can get it done this year.
Lastly, let me ask you about energy. There's going to be an opening or two on the Colorado Public Utilities Commission.
Correct.
Now, the PUC used to have this overriding principle. The principle was ratepayers, which was, since we have a monopoly in most places on energy, the idea is, how do we keep the monopoly in check? Well, we have the PUC to make sure that we have what's called a least cost principle. Mm-hmm. Well, in the last few years, that least cost principle has taken a distant back seat to feel good energy and corporate welfare for some other stuff. Can we get a PUC again that actually cares about working families that have to pay their bills?
I think we can, and I think we can do it here pretty soon. With the 2 openings, the chairman himself resigned within the last 2 or 3 weeks. There is another opening potentially with that second position because the term is up on December 31st. So there are 2 appointments one way or another, even if he reappoints the other member. There are 2 openings and 2 confirmations that have to come through the Senate. So the possibility is there that the replacement for the chairman and a potential replacement for the second seat, Democrat and a Republican seat.
When was the last time, though, the Senate ever said no to a governor's appointment?
Great
question. That doesn't
question.
happen.
It does not happen very often. But there's always the threat of a no.
Follow through with one of those threats sometime. That'd be fun.
It's always out there as an option.
All right.
And that hopefully, though, we can make some good strides with appointments that will actually fight for the consumer and the ratepayer. And I think we potentially have the ability to do that this go around.
I wish you the best. I'll tell you, let's talk again at the end of the session. We'll see
if I'm still smiling.
Yes. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Stay tuned.